ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها صدق اللہ العلی العظیم. صلوات. بر محمد وآل محمد. صلوات اللہ. یا محمد یا محمد یا محمد یا محمد یا محمد. ایسی عزت آپ نے پائی کہ بس یا محمد ایک پل میں مصطفیٰ کو عرش پر بلوا لیا. ایک پل میں مصطفیٰ کو عرش پر بلوا لیا. ارے اپنے بندے کی خدا کو ایسی یاد آئی کہ بس یا محمد. گنتے گنتے تھک گئی تاروں کی نازک انگلیاں. گنتے گنتے تھک گئی تاروں کی نازک انگلیاں. ارے مصطفیٰ کے ہے زمین پہ اتنے شیدائی کہ بس یا محمد. دیکھ ابھی وقت ہے دامن نبی کا تھام لے. دیکھ ابھی وقت ہے دامن نبی کا تھام لے. ارے ورنہ کل محشر میں ہوگی ایسی رسوائی کہ بس یا محمد. ایک دن میں لکھنے بیٹھا تھا شب ہجرت کا حال. ایک دن میں لکھنے بیٹھا تھا شب ہجرت کا حال. ارے کیا کہوں یارو مجھے بھی ایسی نیند آئی کہ بس یا محمد کی شب اسرار خدا نے وہ پذیرائی پذیرائی کہ بس یا محمد بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Mohsin. One more loud salawat for the brother. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani for recitation of poetry with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jashn-e Wiladat Sadiqain Mubarak to everyone, and above all to the Imam of our time. Please recite the loudest of your salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. ایک نعت کے بس چند اشعار پیش ہیں، ایک پھر امام جعفر صادق کی شان میں جو ہے چند اشعار پیش ہیں. پھر عشق محمد کا دستور جداگانہ ہے، عشق محمد کا دستور جداگانہ جینے کی علامت ہے، سرکار پہ میں جانا ہے، عشق محمد کا دستور جداگانہ طے کہ یہ نکلا ہے گھر سے کوئی دیوانہ، طے کہ یہ نکلا ہے گھر سے کوئی دیوانہ، اس بار مدینے سے واپس ہی نہیں آنا، اور جبریل سے بھی آگے پہنچے ہیں شب اسرار، کام آ گیا زیروں کا قدموں سے لپٹ جانا، جا پوچھ لے آدم سے مٹی ہے خراب اس کی، جا پوچھ لے آدم سے مٹی ہے خراب اس کی، جس نے بھی محمد کو اپنا سا بشیمانہ، اور سلمان کا شہدا ہوں، بہلول کا عاشق ہوں، کہتی ہے مجھے دنیا دیوانوں کا دیوانہ ہے عشق محمد کا دستور جداگانہ محمد و آل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. بس یہ 2 شعر پیش ہیں امام جعفر صادق کی شان میں. قسم اللہ کی یہ ہے عطائے جعفر صادق. جلدی جلدی پڑھتا چلا جاؤں گا. قسم اللہ کی یہ ہے عطائے جعفر صادق، ورنہ کہا میں کہا لوگو ثنائے جعفر صادق، کہا میں کہا لوگو ثنائے جعفر صادق. میری بخشش کی خاطر دوستو اتنا ہی کافی ہے، میری تربت پہ لکھ دینا گدائے جعفر صادق. اور یہ آخری شعر پیش ہے جتنے جعفری یہاں پہ میں ان سب سے مخاطب ہوں، ہے جتنے جعفری یہاں پہ میں ان سب سے مخاطب ہوں. تمہیں دوہری مبارک ہو کہ آئے جعفر صادق. قسم اللہ کی یہ ہے عطائے جعفر صادق. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani. One more last salawat for him. Next, I'd like to invite Brother Ayan for recitation of poetry with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
بس چند اشعار آپ کی خدمت. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. سر در آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے، سر در آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اپنی نسلوں کو وفا، اپنی نسلوں کو وفاداری سکھانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اے خدا جنت کسی محتاج کو کر دے عطا. اے خدا جنت کسی محتاج کو کر دے عطا. مجھ کو جنت کی جگہ، مجھ کو جنت کی جگہ عاشور خانہ چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اور باپ کی جاگیر پر بیٹے کا حق ہے، اس لیے باپ کی جاگیر پر بیٹے کا حق ہے، اس لیے ایک علم کعبے کی چھت پر بھی لگانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اور جن کے دل میں جل رہا ہے بغض حیدر کا دیا. جن کے دل میں جل رہا ہے بغض حیدر کا دیا، ان کو قبروں میں نہیں، ان کو قبروں میں نہیں شمشان جانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اور موت لے جائے ہمیں یا زندگی کچھ غم نہیں. موت لے جائے ہمیں یا زندگی کچھ غم نہیں. بھئی کربلا جانے کا ہم کو تو بہانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. اور سن رہے ہیں ہم بہت نزدیک ہے تیرا ظہور. سن رہے ہیں ہم بہت نزدیک ہے تیرا ظہور. ابھی کیا مولا کی دے کو چھپانا چاہیے. سردر آل محمد پر جھکانا چاہیے. کہ چاند پر جائے علی، کہ چاند پر جائے علی والا نہیں کوئی کمال. چاند پر جائے علی والا نہیں کوئی کمال. ارے چاند کو خود اس کے در پر آنا جانا چاہیے. सरदर आले मोहम्मद पर झुकाना चाहिए और खून मेरा भर गया जब मुझसे बच्चे ने कहा खून मेरा भर गया जब मुझसे बच्चे ने कहा कि मातमे जंजीर अब मुझको भी आना चाहिए सरदर आले मोहम्मद पर झुकाना चाहिए सरदर आले मोहम्मद पर झुकाना चाहिए बर मोहम्मद आले मोहम्मद
Jazakallah khair, brother. One more loud salawat for him. At this time, I'd like to invite Sister Namal for recitation of poetry with a loud salawat.
Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today I was sitting and pondering over my identity. Today I was sitting and pondering over my identity, and I came to the conclusion that I am a follower of fiqh Jafri. But then I began asking myself, what does this actually mean? Who is this person by which is known my deen? Without really knowing him, how can I claim that he's my Imam, my leader, or that I am his student and he is my teacher? So I decided to research, so from his personality I could remove this haze, and then in honor of him, write a few lines of praise. But even after reading about him, I was in a dilemma as to what words I should choose. What is the best way this great man to introduce? For he leaves the mind boggled and surpasses the senses of sound and sight. He is an ocean of truth and a beacon of light. His knowledge is like a tunnel with many paths that diverge and have no end. Over tens and hundreds and thousands of disciplines it extends. And his insight and wisdom are a fountain which never fails to quench, leaving the seeker in mercy and generosity drenched. And the sciences and humanities all kiss his blessed hands. And the sciences and humanities all kiss his blessed hands. Over the apparent and unseen, he exerts his command. In his classes, even the most learned individuals must take a seat, because they realize their understanding is limited while his is complete. The theories and laws we have today, back then he refined. The theories and laws we have today, back then he refined. For example, the properties of elements and how the sun and planets are aligned. And isn't it amazing that back then, to him these matters were crystal clear? Well, to discover these same things, it has taken modern science many years. So then why is it that his authority in these subjects they reject? For tell me who is on the same level, who has the same intellect? Find me one person who can compare to Jafri ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq. As for the fortress of ilm, he has set the foundation and bricks. He can't be captured in books or in a course attained. He can't be captured in books or in a course attained. All the ink in the world could be used, yet his merits wouldn't drain. For whenever to teach his lessons he would begin, to join the gathering from the skies would join the angels and the jinn. And ask Abu Shakir, Hisham bin Hakam, and Jabir bin Hayyan. I tell you, ask them about the time they spent with the Imam, for they were known for their knowledge, which from him they learned, their reputation solely because of him they earned. By his characters, his students were left captivated. Due to his humility, even those who disagreed with him in his class participated. He would attentively listen and peacefully debate. No one was demeaned or embarrassed when they came to his gate. And through these methods, he established a school of thought which in certainty was buried deep, a school that showed to the believers Allah's proofs and awoke those who were asleep. And in his school is rooted every other school of thought. That is why it amazes me that followers of other schools this point have forgot. For even Abu Hanifa would often say, I would be nothing if with a Sadiq I hadn't spent my days. And the same could be said if the situation we invert. We also would go astray if from his teachings we divert. And now when I call myself a follower of fiqh Jafri, I realize what a bold statement this is to make about my identity. For it is not just the heart that must make this claim, but our actions must also prove to be the same. Not only his memory must be revived, but his footsteps we must follow. So on the day of judgment, he doesn't look at us with sorrow. We must obey Allah and perform good deeds. Only then will he call us his follower, and for us he'll intercede. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Jazakallah, sister. One more last salawat. I'd like to now invite Sister Roba for recitation of poetry with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. 17th Rabiul Awwal, very Mubarak to all of you and your families and the Imam of our time, Ajallahu Farajahum. This poem is called Nurun ala Nur. Of all the conversations ever penned within the books of Ahadith, there is one dialogue that grips my heart and moves it endlessly. When David asked Allah to proclaim his greatest treasure and identify the object that would bring him deepest pleasure, my heart is endlessly enthralled by God's astonishing reply. He said, I possess a treasure that is greater than the sky, more fragrant than the flowers of earth and paradise, more beautiful than heaven and all the glories held inside. Its vastness and complexity are beyond all earthly measure. The heart of the believer is the greatest of my treasures. The simplicity of God's answer steals away my breath. How could it be that his greatest treasure lives within a human chest? My mind marvels at the infinitude of God's imagination, at the beauty of the sunrise and each gleaming constellation. I revel in the majesty of the butterflies and bees, of the blueness of the ocean and the splendor of the trees. The birds that beat their wings against the cloudy crystal skies seem worthier of praise in my finite human eyes. My consciousness revolts, my rationality objects. God's perception of the heart confounds my intellect. For it strikes me as a paradox when I contemplate his art, that he could overlook the universe in favor of a heart. He loves the heart of the believer, but aren't believers full of flaws? How could something so imperfect be so worthy of his awe? I can't judge another's heart, but I know the frailty of my own. How many idolized attachments have made my heart their throne? I seek refuge from my lostness, and I turn to him for light, and he guides me toward the book that illuminates my sight. In the ayah of Mawadda, God tells the one he loves that the sole reward for prophethood should be his family's love. And the mystery that confounded me suddenly makes sense. The smallness of the heart becomes greatness through this lens. If left to its own devices, the heart is meaningless and trite. but when it loves the ones he loves, it becomes an endless source of light. The love of the Prophet and his family is the final puzzle piece that beautifies the heart and marks the completion of belief. The same love that drove the angels to bow before mankind must be the very love that wins the heart of the divine. According to Al-Bakr, in the heart of a person who believes, there is a lamp that holds a light which burns eternally. I think of Ayat Nur, of the glass that burns like a star at night, and I wonder if a believer's heart reflects that very light. Every time we express this light in the form of salawat, we flicker like the flame within Rasulullah's mishkat. If the lights within our hearts emanate from such a place and are lit by 14 lights that illuminate God's face, is it really any wonder how beloved we can be? Is it really any wonder that encased in you and me lies a universe within the very heart we view as small and the potential to be the treasure of the creator of it all? Nurun ala nur, may the gems we hold within become the wings on which we soar until they carry us to him. Salawat.
Jazakallah, sister. One more loud salawat. Respected scholars, elders, brothers and sisters in faith, Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations to all mu'mineen on the birth of our holy prophet and Imam Jafri Sadiq alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah, we are honored to host Syed Asad Jafri from Toronto. And Syed, just to let you know how popular you are, you do see that we have other scholars in the back ready to attend your lecture for tonight. Sheikh Amin, you're down with one Rastani though, so you're outmatched here. Before I request Syed to begin his speech, just a couple of announcements. Tomorrow night, Friday night, there will be family night with Syed Asad Jafri with the theme Building Our Tribe, followed by a Q&A discussion session open to the entire community. On Saturday night, there is a youth night arranged by the Dallas Youth Group with Syed Asad Jafri for ages 16 through 28. On Saturday and Sunday, there is a 2-day self-help course curated by Syed Asad Jafri titled Renew the Self. This is a paid course. Please register online. A discount code for CFK sustainers has been communicated by Brother Asif Patel. We have limited childcare available for this course. It's on a first-come, first-served basis. Registration for childcare does close tonight. If you register but cannot come in person, a link will be sent to you to watch it online, but the recording will be available for only a limited time. Before I request Syed to ascend the member, 2 requests. One is a Surah Fatiha for the Marhumeen, for tonight's sponsors, for the family of the Devjani family, as well as for Syed Akbar, Sirsha Safia, and their family. Before I request Syed to ascend the member, I'd like to invite you all closer to the member as there's a lot of space up here. And with that, I'd humbly like to request Syed Asad Jafri to ascend the member and address the Mu'mineen tonight with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Yeah, I'll fix it. I'll figure it out now. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Before I begin, can we have a nice loud salawat, please, ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. It's always a privilege and a challenge to speak in front of ulama. And it's with the permission of the 3 ulama that are here, 2 Husseins and 1 Amin, that I begin, inshallah, and I apologize. I'm not sure why they're wasting their Thursday nights here, but it's them that we should be benefiting from and not me, but let's get through this, inshallah, and then we can benefit from them maybe later on as a discussion, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد صل على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلاة على محمد وعلى Muhammad, please. First of all, we send our congratulations and our mubarak to the Imam of our time, the Rahbar of the Ummah, the Maraji, all of you and your respective families, on this beautiful Azim night of the Waladat Basa'adat of both our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Imam Jafri Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst the Sadiqeen, inshaAllah. I am humbled to be here at City of Knowledge in Dallas, and I am thankful to Sheikh Mahdi Rastani for making this possible. It's an honor for me to be here this weekend with all of you. You just heard that we have an array of events and different programs. It's a jam-packed, very full weekend, and I'm very excited about it. Inshallah, all of you are as well. Trying to limit a discussion of these 2 amazing personalities into one night is a challenge for any speaker. And trying to figure out which of the attributes of the so many that I can speak about, and given the fact that we live in a certain era that we live in, I wanted to speak about one specific attribute of the Holy Prophet and connect that to what's happening today. And that is that, yes, his akhlaq is talked about, his principles, his values, his morals, his ethics are all talked about, and they have been spoken about in the past few days on social media, and many ulama will talk about that. But one thing I wanted to speak a little bit about tonight was his unapologetic nature. You see, the one thing about Islam that is unique is that it doesn't apologize for its rulings or its teachings. It doesn't bend, it doesn't break, it doesn't try to fit into some mold that people like me create. It doesn't change its words, doesn't sit there and try to present loopholes to all of you for its fiqh and its sharia. You won't find versions of the Quran, you won't find testaments of the Quran. The same Quran you find in Riyadh, you'll find in Karachi, you'll find in Tehran, you'll find in New York City. And in doing so, it tries to export that unapologetic nature to its followers. That you also have no reason to bend and to apologize and to break and to somehow try to squeeze into a mold that someone else is trying to create for you. Because the deen always presented itself as the criteria. It left itself up here for us to elevate towards it. It never attempted to come down and fit into our measly lives. And that's the biggest difference. The Prophet of Allah would never sacrifice the path for the end. He would never say that the end is pure, the path also can be impure as well. No, I'll give you a small example. In the beginning days of Islam in Mecca, a very substantial tribe approaches the Holy Prophet and says, you claim to be a prophet of God. You present something that's very unique to us. We have a massive tribe. We have men, we have weapons, we have money, we have animals. We are ready to, as a tribe now, come towards Islam. Accept your mission. Claim you're the prophet of God. But every so often we want, maybe a few times a week, we want to pray to our idols. We'll pray your salats, maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a week. The other remaining days we'll pray to our idols. If you give us a little bit of that leeway, if you bend a little bit, then all of us collectively will accept your deen. Now this is in the beginning of the deen now, okay? Where the Prophet is looking for clientele, looking for customers. Sometimes when you have a business, right, you have this grand opening sale and you have 10% off and someone comes and tries to negotiate, you'll maybe say, you know what, I'll give you 10% of that. I'm trying to build my clientele base right now. I'm not an established business just yet. The Prophet of Allah does not even entertain this notion. He says, this is the package of the deen. Either we take it in entirety or we leave it in entirety. This idea that 90% of it you'll accept, 10% of it is on your terms, the Prophet of Allah didn't accept that. If the end was pure, the path to the end also has to be pure. There are some people that actually approach people like me that say, look, just so you know what my strategy is, Maulana, I've stopped praying salat for a week just so I could see if I really love salat or not. MashaAllah. That's fantastic. And just so you know, after a week, I really miss salat. Now I pray salat like I've never prayed before in my life. And I'd recommend that you mention this on the mimbar and actually tell people this might be a good approach when it comes to salat. I've seen sisters who tell me the hijab has come off for a week just to test my hijab. And they'll sit there and they'll tell me, Syed, the intention is great. The end is pure. I got closer to God. But the path to the end was absolutely impure. And that's exactly where the deen says, whoa, wait a second now. I didn't come down here to beg you to follow me. The deen never sat there and said, please follow me, please follow me. It said, look, this is the path, the rest is up to you. Even Allah is telling the Prophet of Allah, the great Prophet of God, you are a warner, you're a giver of good news. Ultimate hidayat is mine. Inna hadaynahu sabil. This is the path now. It's up to them. We're not begging anybody to follow us. I'm not trying to sit there and say, okay, fine, if you come, I'll give you 10%. I'll let you grow your beard up until your chin, for example. If you really want to come to Islam, you can show your bangs. If you want to come to Islam, you can only pray Maghrib. Isha, if you're tired, don't worry about it. Absolutely not. And the Quran, up and down the Quran, أكثرهم لا يشكرون, أكثرهم لا يعلمون, أكثرهم لا. The majority don't believe. The majority are not grateful. The majority don't think. The majority don't do this. The majority, and yet somehow the deen is progressing forward. Which means the deen was never worried about majority. It was never worried about the majority. It tells me that if you have a small amount of followers, but at the level where they've elevated to the deen, that's enough for the deen. 20 of you is 200 of them, the Quran says. If you're good, I will send angels to help you in Badr. But I'm not begging anybody to follow me. And the deen initially presented itself as an unapologetic religion. Not trying to fit in 2022, not trying to somehow use lingo, no. And if we want our children to survive in this society, we have to now ensure that they are also unapologetic Muslims. Now, what does that mean? Let's discuss this. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. You see, some of you, majority of you, are immigrants from your respective countries. I come from a very immigrant family, typical Pakistani household. My parents are from Karachi. I was born and raised in Toronto, but my household was completely Pakistani. Khana, libas, zaban, everything was Pakistani. You could tell. And the biggest difference that I've seen, and now we're into our second or third generation, you're looking at a man who's a father of a teenage girl. Okay? We used to talk about the next generation, what will happen to those youth, what will happen to our kids, bachon mein kya hoga, nahi nasl mein kya hoga, this and all these things. And that used to be me. You used to talk about me. And now I'm talking about my daughter, who's 14 years old. And I realized that our elders, and God bless them, they came from a path of amal into our deen. Please follow me very carefully. I was told that I have as much time as I need. Is that true? I was told it'd be a small crowd, but this is not a small crowd, mashallah. Mashallah. So please get comfortable in your body kapde and in your uncomfortable clothing, in your tight shawar kameez. Please get comfortable. I have a lot to say tonight, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. I'm going to make these ulama in the back regret coming here tonight, inshallah. Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe that's why they're close to the exit so they can leave quietly. Yeah. Please, you guys can go whenever you want to go, inshallah. So they come from all of you, my respective, I love all of you. You come from an era of amal. You were told to do it, you did it. There was no culture of questions back then. It's not like you can, after a majlis of Rashid Torabi, you can come and ask him a question. Agha, halka sa sawal hai aapke paas? No. If you went to Rashid Torabi for a question after his majlis, he'd say, can you show me who this kid's father is? Isko tamiz se kao. Why is he asking me a question after my majlis? So you were told, do it, you did it. This kyun, chun, shara, this didn't exist in your generation. And you did it and did it and did it until it made sense to you to a certain degree. And that was enough for you. And now you migrate and you land in Dallas, Texas, and you raise kids, and now you're raising grandkids. The problem is that you came from a generation of amal, raising kids from a generation of ilm. There's a big difference. That's why these kids frustrate you. Itne sawal karte Maulana. Why this, why that, why nazar, what's kunde, what's bais rajab, this and that. My head is going to explode. We never asked one question. We did it, that's it. But you have to understand, these kids are thirsty for knowledge. And as Shaykh Mutahari says, when someone is that hungry, they don't look at what's on the plate. They're shaking with hunger, right? So they'll eat whatever they want to eat. They don't count calories or check out how much fat there is or if it's fried or not, or I'm off sugar, for example, this week, or let's say, for example, is it a keto meal or not? No. They're starving. Their feet are shaking. They're going to sit there and devour the food. Today's youngsters are starving for something to believe in. And other avenues of belief are presenting a beautiful meal to our kids to devour. And they're eating it. And we wonder why they don't come and take part. we have to present to them a little bit of a different path, and that is of ilm and knowledge. That's point number one. Point number two is that in your respective countries, in India, Pakistan, you had one dish on your buffet table. One dish on your buffet table. How many? One dish. You believed in that same dish, you ate that same dish, you worshiped that same dish. There were no other options. There wasn't there might be some Sunni, Wahhabis, maybe some Hindus that say in Karachi, maybe some in Bombay and Hyderabad, but ideally, you had one dish on the buffet table, and that was it. You ate that dish, it made sense to you, you didn't even know how other dishes tasted. There was no mukhalafat, there was no dushmani, there was no debate, nothing. Maybe you went through the Jalus of 10th Muharram through a Sunni ilaqa neighborhood, maybe, but that was the extent of it. Now you bring a child here, and this buffet table has 15 dishes to it, and one of them is Islam. And you're praying to God, please, Yar, Islam khalo. Please, just take the Islam dish. Meanwhile, Islam is presented as broccoli on the dish. And there's T-bone steak, and there's nahari, and there's butter chicken, and there's filet mignon, and there's French fries, and there's pasta, and there's lasagna, and you're thinking, please take the broccoli, please take the broccoli. Kabhi nahi khayega broccoli. The presentation has to be correct. Ilm, knowledge, unapologetic knowledge. Not knowledge somehow trying to fit into 2022. Not sound bites, not clickbait. True knowledge from a true source. I'll give you a very simple example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. I want you to imagine that you go 1 year to Kashmir. Okay? Kashmir is beautiful. It's Pahari, it's mountainous, there's beautiful water at the bottom. Let's say 1 year you go and you come across these amazing villages where at the bottom of a mountain now, where there is water now, cascading down the mountain, and at the bottom of the mountain there are homes, okay? Beautiful village in Kashmir. Homes to the point where when you open the front door, you see that water streaming in front of you. That's how beautiful it is. Gorgeous. You're taking pictures, selfies, hashtags, you name it. Beautiful. Like, you know what? I'm going to bring my wife here next year for sure. She has to share this moment with me. Please follow my example. 1 year passes, you bring your wife to the exact same spot. Only this time, the water is garbage, dirt. There's garbage floating in the water. Nasty smell to it. All sorts of people opening their front door and dumping their garbage in this water. And your wife is looking at you saying, you dragged me from Dallas to Kashmir to show me this? There's more beautiful things in Dallas than there are in Kashmir. He goes, I swear to God, last year it was beautiful. I'm telling you, Janu, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, honey. How do you get her to recognize the beauty of the water that was in front of that in those homes? You take them up the mountain and you take them to that point where that water gushes from the mountain. From the asal spring of the mountain, from the source of the water. You say, look, this is the water I saw last year, and that water is beautiful. That water is clean. That water is pure. That water is undeniable. You can see yourself in that water. You can do wudu in that water. You can drink that water, not that water down there. When it comes to today's knowledge and today's Instagram world and Wikipedia world, everyone is coming and grabbing their garbage can of knowledge and dumping it into our ocean and presenting it to our children. We live in the democratization of knowledge. Everyone has access to everything, and everyone becomes an expert. And now we're trying to present our kids with this stream of knowledge that's dirty. I'm sorry. People's biases, people's ignorances, people's egos are all within this. And what we have to do is take them to the source of that knowledge. And that source of the knowledge is a hawza ilmiyah. Unless that knowledge comes from the Hausa, it's going to have the same effect that that Kashmiri water has in it. Nothing else. And you have an embarrassment of riches in this city when it comes to the Hausa Ilmiya knowledge. They're not only my brothers, they're my teachers as well. In the back as well. Absolutely. And what they're about to embark on, this massive project, where they have this community, they have the school, they have Mizan Institute, is exactly what we need. We need to present these children with logical knowledge from that original spring of water, from that Hausa. I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is that we live in a fictitious world. You guys are with me, inshallah? Yes? Not too serious tonight? Okay, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. We live in a world of wands and magicians and dragons and thrones. Right? We live in a world of DC and Marvel, of Black Adam and Black Panther and Ant-Man and the Spider-Mans and this league and that league, and our kids live in this world. And we're assuming they know it's a fictitious world. And these are meant sometimes to numb our kids. I'm sorry. They're meant to take us away in a far-off world of flying dragons and a wand that could do things, apparently. And the problem is that we're trying to present God to them. God doesn't exist in a fictitious world. God exists in a logical world where 1 + 1 = 2. We live in a world where basic biology is being contested. Basic biology, where people are going back to their hospital of birth asking the doctor who gave birth to them to change their birth certificate. That's the world we live in, where if I wake up one day tomorrow and I feel like 1 + 1 = 3, I have every right to sit there and have an Instagram post that, by the way, new rule of math, 1 + 1 = 3. And if anyone challenges me, you're at fault. I have every right, I have every freedom. It's a fictitious world we live in with hollow knowledge. And we need logical knowledge. It used to be back in my day, in university days in Toronto, they used to have a first-year course called logic. Ask my brothers in the back. In the house, you don't even touch a book on kalam, on tafsir, on anything until you pass mantiq. 2 years of logic. If you fail that course, take it again. They teach you how to think in the Hausa. Then they introduce God to you. Here it's the other way around. They present to these kids wands and dragons and thrones. And oh, by the way, there's also a God. And it is a fantasy God, I'm sorry. Does the Imam have wings, Malana? Does Imam Mahdi sit on a throne? Does he have access to dragons, Malana? All legit questions they asked me. They're trying to now figure out this real logical deen into this fictitious world, and they're so confused. And we need to break that cycle and present to them logical knowledge from the spring of the mountain. Otherwise, we're praying broccoli, broccoli, broccoli. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And this is why maybe Allah now, in a very sad way, I'm sorry to attribute emotion to God. He says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirasuli idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. O you who believe, answer the call of Allah. Allah is saying, look, answer me. I'm calling you, yar. Answer me. Jawab to do. I'm calling you. Towards what? Idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Towards that which will bring you life. Why does God feel the need to say labbaik to me? I'll give you a very simple example. My examples are very simple. You want knowledge? The three in the back. Get knowledge from me. Here you have simple reminders from me. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. When I become passionate about a topic, I start yelling and screaming. So don't get scared. I'm not angry. This is me passionate. Can you imagine? I want you to imagine, true story. To get myself to university, I had my own flea market stall. Okay? True story. I worked odd jobs, Foot Locker, Bata shoes, you name it. Kya nahi kiya maine. I had a flea market stall. In that flea market stall, I sold sun catchers. You guys know what sun catchers are? Sun catchers. So they are these things that you put against the window, suction cup. When the sun hits it, it looks beautiful. So I had a table of sun catchers. If you've been inside of a flea market, you know the flea market is what? Is stalls, essentially, where people are trying to convince the customer to come and buy what I'm selling. So the guy beside me sold lamps. The guy in front of me sold beef patties, Jamaican beef patties. The guy beside me sold radios. And I sold sun catchers. And the moment that door opened and a new customer came in, they would start calling. Come get your radios. Come buy your beef patties, man. Hot Jamaican beef patties. Come have your lamps. Come this and that, blah, blah, blah. And here I am saying, sun catchers, get your sun catchers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, when you enter the bazaar, there are stalls that are calling your youth towards life. Understand for a moment, please. Calling them towards whatever they're selling. If they want contentment, I got it. If they want serenity, I have it. If they want validation, I have it. If they want to feel beautiful, I got it. Just say labbaik to me. Sell your soul out, put a few posts on, you might get some subscribers, but hey, you'll feel fantastic at the end of the day. And part of those stalls is God saying, I'm also selling life. I'm also selling hayat. Come and say labbaik to me. The sheer idea that God has to say labbaik to me idha da'akum when I invite you, is the fact that even He recognizes there are other aspects selling life to our kids as well. They think if I just get a little bit more followers, a little bit more comments, a few more likes on my post, let's say for example, someone telling me, oh my God, you're so beautiful, maybe I'll feel better about myself. That will validate me. So we have other people telling our youth if they are religious, faithful, beautiful, smart, intelligent, all these things. And they've given up the idea that I've already been validated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We've honored the human being. How much more validation do you need than the fact that God is now saying, we've honored you? So we have to change the way we raise our kids and grandkids. We have to make them unapologetic. When you're unapologetic, no news from any part of the world, no controversy, no hashtags, no filters, no statements by any ulama or so-called speakers will rock your faith. Nowadays, the slightest little bit of a statement and oh my God, what happened all of a sudden? I thought this, I thought that, I don't know, I need a break, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, Baba. When Imam Ali is getting his soldiers ready for battle, he would say, look, I need you to be a mountain, not a flag in the wind. A flag in the wind is just that. It's completely dependent on the wind. If the wind goes right, the flag goes right. If the wind goes left, the flag goes left. If there's no wind, the flag is still. No values at all of its own. No morals, no principles. Completely dependent and reliant on the wind. But a mountain, the ground can shake. The wind can howl. The storm can come. The mountain doesn't move from where it is. That's what we need today. Firm belief in a very firm religion. Unapologetic followers to an unapologetic religion. Who's not concerned about followers, I'm sorry. Not begging anyone to come and follow me. 20 of you I'll take. 10 of you I'll take. Look at our centers and our communities. It seems as if there's only a few people that run the entire show. Financially, logistically, opening, closing, inviting speakers, all these things. Just a few. Voi log hai, voi log hai, voi log hai. And that's okay. That's enough sometimes. We don't need the entire community. We need a couple of people, but as long as they're pure and they're khulus, that's enough. That's all we need. That's why Allah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبَّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Allahu Akbar. What a verse. For those who say, Verbalize, like I verbalize, that my Rabb is Allah. La ilaha illallah. Take it, bold, dear man. Alhamdulillah. Then the Quran says, ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Then they resist. Then they rise. Then they become unapologetic. Then they become somebody who's stern, who's firm, who's certain on the path. تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, the Quran says. Angels will descend onto them with 3 pieces of news. أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. Don't fear, don't grieve, and Jannah that's been promised to you is waiting for you. You've seen people, turmoil right now in the world. So much confusion about what's happening in that country, and this country, and that country. This statement by this alim, that post by this scholar, happening in this country, this jamhuri, that government. And you see people who are steadfast on their path, not a blink of an eye. They're collected, they're calm, they're cool. They'll wait the ride out. Then there are people like me who are a little bit shaky. The moment that things get a little bit clear and a little bit crashy, then it becomes a problem. The Holy Prophet was unapologetic. They tried everything. Women, government, power, money. You name it, Abu Talib, we'll give it to him. Tell him to stop preaching this message. He says, sun and the moon. I don't want any of it. Tortured his followers. Banished him from Mecca. Sent to Medina. Then they went to wars at the man. Didn't bend or break. We need that today in this day and age. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, please. Now, a few more points in Intimas Dua. How do I get there? Where do I start? Great question. You start with Tawheed. Quite obvious, you'd be surprised. Up and down Muharram and Safar, wherever I went, I talked about God. And the premise was that if we want to love Imam Hussein, we should love what Imam Hussein loves. It's very simple, right? Sometimes we do things for our wife because we love her. We watch things with our wife because we love her. Right? We end up spending 3 hours in the mall because we love her. A long ride home tonight for a lot of you. Sometimes the law of love is that you end up loving what your lover loves. And the day of Ashura has been called many things. The day of Ashura is a day of love, where this mahbub now had shown his love towards his beloved. If the Holy Prophet is the Habib of Allah, then Allah is his mahbub. To the point where Allah says, "In kuntum tuhibbuna Allah, fattabi'uni yuhibbukum Allah." I will take the love that they have for me, I'll place it at your feet, Ya Rasulullah. So long as they follow you, I will then in turn love them. There's an immense love affair between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet. Only makes sense for us now to travel towards God and Tawheed. And I say this, and I don't mean to cause enemies. I'm here for at least 3 more days. Please don't hate me. Come and see me afterwards. I'm not going anywhere. You can't miss 6'4". You can't miss me. I'm here. The Ahlulbayt were always meant to take us to God. Please, as a brother and a son, please accept what I'm saying. To take us to God. Some of us stopped at the Ahlulbayt and never got to God. It got quiet in here. Yeah. They're always meant to be a wasila towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can debate a Wahhabi on fasting on the day of Ashura. We can. We can debate a Wahhabi on the ghaibat of the Imam. We can sit there for sure debate a Wahhabi on Ghadir. But can I debate an atheist on God? Would I know how to prove God? Answer some of the basic questions that my kids ask about God. If we can't, that's a problem. Because everything the Ahlulbayt did, they did out of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we want to create an unapologetic community of followers to an unapologetic deen and religion, right? And I have to stop looking for loopholes and emailing Sheikh Amin that is there any other way? Can you get another hukm from Qum that maybe I can't do this or I can do this? Can I somehow sit at a table with alcohol? Can I just please shake her hand during an interview? Is there some loophole you can give me? Please. We have to make Islam fit in 2022. And you guys won't agree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree. That's all right. We can have a discussion. But Islam was meant for us to elevate to, not bring down to us. And part of that is to get to God through the Ahlulbayt. The Prophet of Allah presented Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the most beautiful way. And we have to begin by getting to Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. So in conclusion, and I ask you for your forgiveness, understand that Islam came about and came down very strong, not giving up or sacrificing the path for the end. If the end is pure, which is God, the path to God also has to be pure. Okay? You've come from a generation of amal. You're raising a generation of ilm. You have sources here that no other city has. Use those sources. Alhamdulillah, and you have been. But there are many cities out there that crave and that die for what you have. Let's not do kufran in ni'mat. Let's ensure that we are led by these scholars and by these ulama. And let's ensure that we reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we fall in love with that God that our Holy Prophet fell in love with, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to accept our qaleel ibadat, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help us raise this next generation, ya Allah. To forgive their sins, forgive our sins, and to give us that tawfiq, inshallah, to raise true God-fearing, pious individuals. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. متوجه زيارة إن شاء الله. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء سلطان أبو الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيئنا وشفيء والدنا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجه، السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Mu'mineen, just a quick announcement for tomorrow. After tomorrow night's speech, there will be a puppet show with the title The Story of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This puppet show will be followed by a Kahoot game, and we'll have an opportunity for our young sisters to take photos with the puppeteers, inshallah.